Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are going to get you up to speed on the science of trauma and healing.
Okay.
And we're going to be drawing all of our wisdom from this incredible book,
Okay.
The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk.
Yeah.
This deep dive is going to make you smart quickly.
Cool.
And don't forget to check out the show notes. You'll find links to download study notes from the book and snag the audiobook
Awesome.
if you prefer to listen on the go.
Yeah.
Found this episode helpful? Hit that like button and share it with a friend.
Absolutely.
Let's spread the knowledge.
Let's do it.
Now, to guide us through the complex world of trauma and the groundbreaking therapies that van der Kolk presents, we have with us today an expert in the field of mental health.
Thank you.
Welcome. It's fantastic to have you here.
I'm thrilled to be here. Van der Kolk's work is truly revolutionary, and I'm excited to unpack it with you and our listeners.
Okay, let's dive in. One of the things that really surprised me about The Body Keeps the Score was van der Kolk's critique of antidepressants.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bold statement from a psychiatrist, wouldn't you say? He doesn't dismiss them entirely.
Yeah.
But he raises some serious questions about their overuse in our society.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
What's fascinating is that van der Kolk argues that this over-reliance on medication has led to a medicalization of mental health.
Okay.
It's like we've reduced these incredibly complex human experiences to mere chemical imbalances.
Yeah.
Prescribing pills without always addressing the underlying trauma.
Right.
He suggests that this approach might actually be hindering true healing by neglecting the profound impact of human connection and the potential of therapies that address the mind-body connection.
That's such a crucial point. It makes you wonder, have we become too quick to reach for a prescription pad
Yeah.
and lost sight of the power of other approaches,
Right.
the things that truly make us human?
Like connection.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
curious to hear what our listeners think. Have we struck the right balance in treating mental illness,
Yeah.
or have we become overly reliant on medication?
Good question.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
Yeah, let us know.
Now, to really grasp the significance of van der Kolk's perspective,
Yeah.
we need to understand the historical context.
Okay.
How has the understanding of trauma evolved over time?
The evolution of our understanding of trauma is a fascinating journey.
Yeah.
It actually dates back to the late 1800s with Pierre Janet, a true pioneer in psychology.
Yeah.
Janet was among the first to recognize how past experiences, especially traumatic ones,
Yeah.
could manifest as physical and psychological symptoms later in life.
Interesting.
He introduced concepts like dissociation,
Okay.
a mental process where thoughts, feelings, memories, or even a sense of identity can become separated from conscious awareness
Right.
as a way for the mind to cope with overwhelming experiences.
So fast forward to the mid-20th century.
Okay.
We have researchers like van der Kolk focusing on the trauma experienced by war veterans.
Right.
His early research using Rorschach tests,
Okay.
those ink blot tests, was pretty revolutionary.
Yeah.
What did those tests reveal about the impact of trauma on perception?
Van der Kolk's work with veterans revealed something groundbreaking.
Okay.
Trauma doesn't just impact our emotional well-being.
Right.
It actually distorts our perception of reality.
Mm.
The Rorschach tests showed that trauma survivors often interpreted ambiguous images
Okay.
in a negative or threatening way, reflecting a heightened sense of danger and mistrust in their worldview.
It's as if their past experiences had reshaped the very way they see the world.
Exactly.
And this leads to a crucial concept. Van der Kolk introduces the trauma lens.
Okay.
Can you explain what that is and
Yeah.
why it's so important?
The trauma lens is a way of understanding how trauma, even if it's not from war or a major disaster,
Yeah.
can have a pervasive impact on a person's life.
Okay.
Van der Kolk's work with veterans was so crucial because it helped us see that trauma isn't limited to soldiers.
Right.
It can stem from any experience that overwhelms a person's ability to cope, leaving them feeling helpless, powerless, and fundamentally unsafe.
That's a huge shift in perspective.
Yeah.
We're talking about childhood abuse, neglect, domestic violence,
Right.
experiences that sadly are far too common.
Exactly. And that's precisely what makes the trauma lens so important. It expands our understanding of who can be affected by trauma, helping us recognize its often hidden impact on individuals, families, and even entire communities.
Van der Kolk doesn't just stop at the individual level. He highlights how the impact of trauma extends outward,
Right.
creating ripples that affect relationships, and in particular, the capacity for trust.
Trauma often creates a profound sense of disconnection, a fear of vulnerability.
Right.
This can make it incredibly challenging to build and sustain healthy relationships,
Right.
particularly intimate ones. There's often a deep-seated fear of betrayal,
Yeah.
making it difficult for trauma survivors to truly let their guard down and connect with others.
He has a powerful anecdote about his group therapy sessions with Vietnam War veterans. He talks about the incredible difficulty of building trust with these men,
Right.
many of whom had been deeply wounded physically and emotionally.
This anecdote beautifully highlights the challenges of working with traumatized individuals.
Yeah.
They may appear closed off, resistant, even hostile at times. But this is often a protective mechanism, a way of guarding against further pain and hurt.
Right.
Building trust is essential,
Right.
but it's a delicate process that requires patience, empathy, and a deep understanding of the impact of trauma on interpersonal dynamics.
So we've talked about how trauma can manifest in our thoughts, our perceptions, and our relationships.
Yeah.
But what about the body? Where does the body come into play in all of this?
This is where it gets really fascinating. Kolk dives deep into the neuroscience of trauma,
Okay.
explaining how overwhelming stress, especially in the face of a threat, disrupts the body's natural adaptive responses.
Okay.
Instead of returning to a state of equilibrium, the nervous system gets stuck in a state of chronic hyperarousal
Right.
long after the danger has passed.
It's like a smoke detector that just won't shut off, constantly blaring, even when there's no fire. You're living in a state of perpetual alert,
Right.
bracing for the next threat.
That's a great analogy.
And this constant state of vigilance takes a huge toll on both the body and the mind.
Yeah.
It can manifest in a whole host of ways.
Oh, yeah.
Anxiety, insomnia, digestive issues,
Yeah.
chronic pain, even weakened immunity.
Absolutely.
So how do we address this?
Yeah.
How do we help people quiet
Yeah.
that internal alarm system?
Kolk suggests two primary approaches in trauma therapy.
Okay.
One is to strengthen top-down regulation.
Okay.
This involves consciously using the thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex,
Yeah.
to gain control over emotional responses.
Right.
Think of mindfulness meditation or yoga practices
Yeah.
that cultivate a sense of awareness and control over thoughts and feelings.
So it's about regaining a sense of agency, a belief that you have the power to influence your internal state.
Exactly.
And the second approach is to recalibrate bottom-up regulation. This involves working directly with the body's sensations and nervous system responses
Right.
to retrain the body's instinctive reactions to stress.
Exactly.
Techniques like breathwork, movement therapies, or even therapeutic touch can be very effective here.
Absolutely.
So it's a two-pronged approach, addressing both the mind and the body, helping individuals reclaim a sense of safety and control on all levels.
Precisely. And this is where the real power of Kolk's work lies. He bridges the gap between traditional talk therapy and body-based approaches,
Okay.
recognizing that true healing requires addressing both the psychological and the physiological impacts of trauma.
Now, Kolk is a strong advocate for early intervention, particularly when it comes to childhood trauma.
Yes.
He even championed the idea of developmental trauma disorder,
Right.
a diagnosis that was, unfortunately.
Rejected from the DSM-5, the official manual of mental disorders.
That's right. And this rejection, as Kolk argues, highlights a huge gap in our understanding of how early trauma affects children. He suggests that the vast majority of children's mental health problems actually stem from traumatic experiences. What are your thoughts on that?
What Kolk is pointing to is the fact that we often focus on labeling and managing symptoms without addressing the root cause, the trauma that underlies so many behavioral and emotional challenges in children. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone, hoping that it will heal on its own.
That's a powerful analogy.
Yeah.
So how does trauma actually manifest in children?
Yeah.
What are some of the signs that parents, teachers, or caregivers should be aware of?
The signs can be subtle,
Okay.
but they're often there if you know what to look for. Changes in behavior are a big one. You might see increased aggression, withdrawal, clinginess,
Right.
or difficulty regulating emotions.
It's like their internal alarm system is always on high alert.
Exactly. They might have trouble sleeping experience, nightmares,
Yeah.
or regress to earlier behaviors like thumb sucking or bedwetting. Academically, you might see problems with concentration learning or completing tasks.
And it's crucial to remember that these signs aren't always obvious or dramatic. Sometimes it's the absence of something.
Right.
The lack of joy, spontaneity, or connection
Yeah,
that signals something deeper is going on.
absolutely. If you notice any of these signs, especially in combination, it's so important to reach out for professional help.
Yeah.
Early intervention can make a world of difference in a child's life.
Now, we've talked about how profoundly trauma can impact our brains, bodies, and relationships. But what about memory? How does trauma shape the way we remember and make sense of these overwhelming experiences?
Traumatic memories are fundamentally different from ordinary memories. They're often fragmented, sensory-based, and intensely emotional. Think of a sudden flash of an image, a smell, or a sound that triggers a cascade of fear or panic.
Unlike a regular memory, which has a clear narrative, a beginning, middle, and end, traumatic memories are often disorganized and intensely difficult to process.
Exactly. And this brings us back to the concept of dissociation. Remember, it's a coping mechanism where the mind disconnects from overwhelming experiences. Traumatic memories can become completely isolated from conscious awareness, leading to flashbacks, nightmares, emotional numbing, and even a sense of detachment from oneself.
So even though these memories may be buried, they still exert a powerful influence on a person's thoughts, feelings, and behavior.
Absolutely. It's like the body is holding on to the trauma, even if the conscious mind can't fully access or make sense of the memory.
So how do we help people reconnect with these fragmented memories in a safe and supportive way? And how do we help them begin to heal?
Kolk highlights a number of promising approaches. But two that stand out are yoga and mindfulness.
Let's start with yoga. What makes it so beneficial for trauma survivors?
Yoga is a powerful tool for reconnecting with the body and developing a sense of what we call embodied awareness. It helps individuals cultivate a sense of safety and grounding by gently moving, stretching, and focusing on their breath. It's not about pushing yourself to your limits or achieving any particular pose, but rather about listening to your body, honoring its limitations, and gradually building a sense of trust and self-compassion.
So it's about learning to inhabit your body again, to feel safe and at home within your own skin.
Precisely. And for trauma survivors who've learned to disconnect from their bodies as a way to cope with overwhelming experiences, that sense of safety and embodiment is essential. Yoga provides a safe and gradual pathway back to their physical sensations and emotions.
Now on to mindfulness. It seems like it's all about paying attention to the present moment without judgment. But how does that help heal trauma?
Mindfulness is a powerful tool for cultivating awareness, both of internal experiences like thoughts and feelings, and external experiences like sounds and sensations. This non-judgmental awareness can be incredibly liberating for trauma survivors. It allows them to observe their thoughts and emotions without getting swept away by them. They can begin to separate themselves from the trauma, realizing that they are not their thoughts or their feelings.
So instead of suppressing or avoiding difficult feelings, they can learn to acknowledge them, sit with them, and eventually let them go.
Exactly. And as they become more aware of their internal landscape, they can start to regulate their emotions more effectively, respond to triggers with greater control, and develop a deeper sense of self-awareness and agency.
So both yoga and mindfulness seem to offer pathways back to ourselves, back to a sense of wholeness and connection.
I love that way of putting it. Trauma can truly shatter our sense of self, leaving us feeling fragmented and disconnected from our bodies, our emotions, and even our own sense of identity. Practices like yoga and mindfulness help us piece ourselves back together, creating a sense of safety, grounding, and ultimately inner peace.
This has been an incredible start to our deep dive. We've covered so much ground already, but there's still so much more to explore. In our next episode, we'll delve deeper into Kolk's work, looking at specific therapies like EMDR and neurofeedback, and explore the role of creativity and spirituality in the healing process. Stay tuned.
Looking forward to it. You know, it's fascinating to consider how ancient practices like yoga and mindfulness, which have been around for centuries, are now being validated by modern neuroscience. It really speaks to the wisdom of these traditions and their deep understanding of the mind-body connection.
It's like science is finally catching up to what these practices have known all along.
Exactly. And that's what's so exciting about Kolk's work. He brings together these ancient wisdom traditions and cutting-edge science to create a truly holistic approach to trauma healing.
Speaking of memory, we talked earlier about how traumatic memories can be fragmented and disorganized, almost like shards of glass scattered in the mind. But Kolk also emphasizes the importance of actually processing those experiences, of making sense of them in a way that allows for healing. How do we approach that without re-traumatizing the individual?
That's the crucial challenge, because traumatic memories are often stored in the body, not just the mind. Accessing them can trigger intense physical and emotional reactions. It's not just about remembering the event intellectually, it's about re-experiencing the terror,
Right.
the helplessness, the overwhelming sensations that were present during the trauma.
So it's not just a cognitive process, it's a visceral embodied experience.
Exactly.
That must make it incredibly difficult to approach those memories in a safe and therapeutic way.
Absolutely. That's why therapies like EMDR, eye movement desensitization, and reprocessing have become so valuable in trauma treatment.
Okay.
EMDR focuses on helping people process traumatic memories in a safe and controlled environment using bilateral stimulation, typically eye movements,
Yeah.
to help the brain reprocess those fragmented memories and integrate them into a coherent narrative.
So it's about creating a sense of order out of chaos, helping the brain file those scattered memories in the right place so they no longer trigger overwhelming reactions.
Precisely. As those memories become less charged, less overwhelming,
Right.
individuals can begin to detach from the trauma and move forward with their lives.
Kolk also talks about the importance of physical action in trauma recovery.
Yeah.
He says that taking action can help shut down the fight or flight response, signaling safety to the body.
Right.
Why is that so important?
When we're confronted with a threat, our bodies naturally go into survival mode, activating the fight or flight response.
Right.
But in trauma, that response can become stuck in the on position, leaving individuals in a persistent state of hypervigilance and anxiety.
So it's like the body's constantly bracing for impact, even when there's no immediate danger.
Exactly. And engaging in physical activities, whether it's running, dancing, or even just shaking it out, can help discharge that pent-up energy, reset the nervous system, and bring the body back to a state of balance and calm. It's like telling the body, okay, the danger has passed, you can relax now.
That sense of relaxation is crucial for healing, isn't it?
Absolutely. When the body feels safe and relaxed, the mind can begin to process and make sense of the trauma. It creates the conditions for true healing to occur.
You know, we've talked about a lot of different therapies and approaches, but I'm curious about what you find most effective in your work with trauma survivors. What are some of the key ingredients that seem to be essential for healing?
That's a great question. And honestly, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to trauma therapy. Every individual's journey is unique.
Yeah.
And the most effective therapies are those tailored to their specific needs and experiences.
Okay.
But if I had to highlight a few key ingredients that seem to be crucial across the board, they'd be, first and foremost, safety. Creating a therapeutic environment that feels truly safe, supportive, and non-judgmental is absolutely essential.
So the individual needs to feel that they can be completely vulnerable without fear of judgment or shame.
Exactly. And that's not always easy.
Yeah.
Especially for someone who's experienced a violation of trust or safety.
Right.
But it's the foundation upon which all other healing can occur. Secondly, connection trauma often leads to a profound sense of isolation and disconnection.
Okay.
So fostering a sense of genuine human connection, whether it's through therapy, support groups, or close relationships, can be incredibly healing. It helps individuals realize they're not alone, that others understand and care.
It's about rebuilding those fractured connections, reestablishing a sense of belonging and trust in the world.
Precisely. And finally, empowerment. Trauma often robs individuals of their sense of agency, their belief that they have the power to influence their own lives. So it's essential to help them reclaim their power, their voice, and their ability to make choices in their lives.
That sounds incredibly important. It's about shifting from a position of powerlessness to one of strength and agency.
Exactly. It's about reclaiming your narrative.
Yeah.
Taking control of your healing journey.
Right.
And creating a future that feels aligned with your values and aspirations.
I'm really struck by how these key ingredients, safety, connection, and empowerment, seem to be interconnected.
Yeah.
They create a powerful synergy that supports deep and lasting healing.
I agree. And it's important to remember that healing is not just about addressing the symptoms of trauma. It's about rebuilding a sense of wholeness and connection in all aspects of life.
Okay, so we've explored how trauma affects the brain, the body, and relationships. We've also discussed some key approaches to healing, from yoga and mindfulness to EMDR and the importance of physical action.
Right.
But I'm still wondering about something. What about those who have experienced trauma in childhood?
Yeah.
How does that impact their development?
Okay.
And what are some of the unique challenges they face in therapy?
That's a crucial question, and it brings us back to the concept of developmental trauma disorder.
Right.
Which Kolk championed, but which was ultimately rejected from the DSM-5.
Yeah.
This rejection, as van der Kolk argues, highlights a fundamental gap in our understanding of how early trauma affects children.
You mentioned earlier that van der Kolk believes the vast majority of children's mental health issues stem from trauma.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that a bit?
Absolutely. Van der Kolk's point is that when children experience chronic trauma, whether it's abuse, neglect, or exposure to violence,
Right.
it can disrupt their brain development in profound ways. It affects their emotional regulation, their attachment styles, their ability to form healthy relationships, and their overall sense of self.
It's like building a house on a shaky foundation. It's going to impact the stability of the entire structure.
That's a great analogy. Early trauma can lead to a host of challenges later in life, including difficulties in relationships, problems with emotional regulation, low self-esteem, and even increased susceptibility to physical health problems.
So how do we support children who have experienced trauma? What are some key considerations in therapy?
One of the most important things is to create a safe and predictable environment.
Okay.
Both in the therapeutic setting and at home, children who've experienced trauma often feel unsafe and out of control.
Right.
They need to know that they're in a place where they can relax, explore their emotions, and begin to heal without fear of judgment or re-traumatization.
It's about creating a sense of stability and consistency, allowing them to regain a sense of trust in the world.
Exactly. And because play is the natural language of children, play therapy can be incredibly effective.
Right.
It allows them to express their experiences and emotions in a non-threatening, symbolic way.
So it's not about forcing them to talk about their trauma directly, but about creating a safe space for them to process and make sense of their experiences through play.
Precisely. Other creative modalities like art therapy, music therapy, and sand tray therapy can also be very helpful. And it's essential to work with the child's caregivers, providing parent education, family therapy, or other interventions that help create a supportive home environment.
So it's about creating a web of support, a sense of safety and connection that allows the child to truly heal and thrive.
Exactly. And it's crucial to remember that healing from trauma, especially childhood trauma, takes time. There's no quick fix. It's a journey that requires patience, compassion, and a deep understanding of the complex ways in which trauma impacts the developing brain and body.
I'm struck by the importance of recognizing the signs of trauma in children. What are some of the red flags that parents, teachers, and caregivers should be aware of?
That's a great question. There are so many potential signs, but some common ones include changes in behavior such as increased aggression, withdrawal, or clinginess, difficulties with sleep like nightmares or bedwetting, regression to earlier behaviors like thumb sucking or baby talk, difficulty concentrating or learning in school, and physical symptoms like headaches, stomach aches, or unexplained pains.
So it's a wide range of symptoms, both physical and emotional. And it sounds like it's not always about dramatic or extreme behaviors. Sometimes it's the subtle shifts, the absence of things like joy or spontaneity that can be red flags.
You're absolutely right. It's crucial to trust your instincts. If you notice several of these symptoms, or if you just have a gut feeling that something isn't quite right, it's always worth seeking professional help to explore what might be going on.
We've delved into the profound impact of childhood trauma, the challenges it poses, and the importance of early intervention. But van der Kolk doesn't just focus on the problems, does he?
No, he doesn't.
He also offers hope and a path forward.
Absolutely. One of the things that's so inspiring about his work is that he doesn't shy away from the darkness, but he always points toward the light. He highlights the incredible resilience of the human spirit and our capacity for healing, even in the face of profound adversity.
He reminds us that even though trauma can leave deep wounds, it doesn't have to define us. We have the power to heal, to reclaim our lives, and to find meaning and purpose, even in the midst of suffering.
That's precisely what makes The Body Keeps the Score such a powerful and transformative book.
Now, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
But we've only scratched the surface of van der Kolk's work.
Yeah.
There's so much more to explore.
There is.
From the specific techniques used in therapies like EMDR and neurofeedback, to the role of spirituality and creativity in healing. We'll delve deeper into these areas in our next episode.
Looking forward to it.
But before we move on, I want to leave our listeners with a thought-provoking question. If trauma disconnects us from ourselves, from our bodies, our emotions, and our relationships, how can we use the tools presented in The Body Keeps the Score to rebuild that connection? Think about it, explore it,
Right.
and share your insights in the comments below.
Yeah, let us know.
We'd love to hear your reflections. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of The Body Keeps the Score with a closer look at some of the more nuanced aspects of trauma and healing, including those cutting-edge therapies we briefly touched on last time.
And, building on that thought-provoking question we left you with about rebuilding connection after trauma.
Yeah.
I think it's so important to emphasize that this is not a linear process.
Right.
There will be ups and downs, moments of progress, and moments of what might feel like setbacks.
It's like learning to dance, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to master those intricate steps overnight.
Right.
It takes practice, patience, and
Absolutely.
a willingness to stumble and get back up again, maybe even laugh at yourself a little along the way.
I love that analogy. It captures the essence of the journey so well. And just like with dancing, there are different styles, different approaches that resonate with different people. What works beautifully for one person might not be the right fit for another.
Right. It's about finding what feels safe, supportive, and authentic for you.
And that's where a skilled and compassionate therapist can be so invaluable.
Yeah.
They can provide guidance and support through those inevitable ups and downs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A therapist can help you navigate the complex terrain of trauma,
guide
you towards resources and practices that can support your healing, and perhaps most importantly, provide a safe and non-judgmental space to explore your experiences without fear of shame or judgment.
Now, one of the things that really intrigued me in The Body Keeps the Score was Kolk's discussion of neurofeedback.
Oh, yeah.
It sounded almost futuristic. Can you break down what neurofeedback actually is and how it's being used in trauma therapy?
Neurofeedback is a type of biofeedback that measures brainwave activity and provides feedback in real time. It's like holding up a mirror to the brain, allowing individuals to see how their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are reflected in those intricate brainwave patterns.
So it's not about directly changing those brainwaves.
Right. But about becoming aware of them and learning to regulate them.
Exactly. With neurofeedback, individuals can learn to shift their brainwave patterns into a more balanced and regulated state, which can have a profound impact on their emotional well-being, their ability to focus, and even their physical health.
That's incredible. It's like we're giving people the tools to retrain their brains to become more resilient, more adaptable.
That's exactly what's so exciting about it. And for trauma survivors who often struggle with hyperarousal anxiety and difficulty regulating their emotions, neurofeedback can be a game changer.
It's amazing to think about the ways in which technology is being harnessed to support mental health and facilitate healing.
It really is a remarkable time to be in this field. There's so much innovation happening.
Speaking of technology, I know a lot of our listeners are curious about virtual reality and its potential role in trauma therapy. Did Kolk touch on that at all in his work?
While virtual reality wasn't explicitly covered in them, The Body Keeps the Score. It's definitely an emerging area of interest in trauma treatment.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, doesn't it? VR allows therapists to create immersive environments that can help individuals confront and process traumatic memories in a controlled and safe way.
So it's like exposure therapy, but in a virtual world where the individual has more control over the experience.
Exactly. VR can be a powerful tool for helping individuals gradually re-experience traumatic events, allowing them to process their emotions, develop new coping mechanisms, and ultimately reduce the power those memories hold over them.
It sounds like it has the potential to be incredibly helpful, especially for those who might not feel safe or ready to engage in traditional exposure therapy. It offers a more gradual, step-by-step approach.
That's the beauty of it. It's another tool in the toolbox, offering more options for individuals to find the approach that resonates with them and supports their unique healing journey.
You know, one of the things I really appreciate about Kolk's approach is that he doesn't limit himself to traditional therapies. He's open to exploring the role of creativity and spirituality in healing as well.
That's one of the things I admire most about his work. The holistic perspective. It recognizes that trauma recovery isn't just about fixing the brain or changing behaviors. It's about addressing the whole person, their body, mind, spirit, and those essential social connections that weave us into the fabric of life.
He talks about how creative practices like theater, dance, and music can provide powerful outlets for expression and connection, helping individuals access and process emotions that might be difficult to put into words.
Exactly. These creative modalities can be incredibly powerful for processing trauma.
Okay.
They allow individuals to communicate and make sense of their experiences in nonverbal ways,
Right.
bypassing the limitations of language and tapping into the deep wisdom of the body.
It's like giving voice to the unspeakable, allowing the body and the emotions to speak their truth through movement, sound, and imagery.
And that can be profoundly liberating and healing.
Van der Kolk also acknowledges the importance of spirituality in trauma recovery.
Yes.
He doesn't advocate for any particular religion, but he emphasizes the importance of finding meaning and purpose in life.
Right.
Something that resonates with your soul.
Yeah.
Something that gives you a reason to get out of bed in the morning.
And for many people, that search for meaning and purpose leads them to explore their spirituality.
Right.
Whether it's through organized religion, a connection to nature, or simply a sense of belonging to something larger than themselves.
It's about finding a sense of hope and resilience in the face of adversity.
Yeah.
A belief that there's something worth living for, even when life feels incredibly challenging.
And that sense of hope, that belief in the possibility of healing and transformation can be an incredibly powerful force in trauma recovery.
Well, I think we've really come full circle in our deep dive into The Body Keeps the Score. We've explored the profound impact of trauma on the brain, body, and relationships.
Yeah.
We've delved into the complex world of memory and the challenges of processing traumatic experiences. And we've examined a wide range of therapies and practices that can support healing,
Absolutely.
from traditional talk therapy to yoga, mindfulness, neurofeedback, and the expressive arts. But more than anything, what shines through in Van der Kolk's work is a message of hope, a profound belief in the resilience of the human spirit and our innate capacity for healing. He reminds us that even though trauma can leave deep wounds,
Right.
it doesn't have to define us. We have the power to reclaim our lives, to find meaning and purpose, and to create a future filled with joy, connection, and well-being.
That's the message I hope our listeners take away from this deep dive.
Yeah,
That healing is possible even in the face of profound adversity.
absolutely. So if you're intrigued by what you heard today and you're ready to learn more, I encourage you to pick up a copy of The Body Keeps the Score or listen to the audiobook. You'll find the link in the show notes along with those helpful study notes we mentioned earlier. And as always, we love hearing from you. Share your insights, your questions, your own experiences with healing, whatever is on your mind, in the comments below. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of trauma and recovery. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep believing in the power of healing.
See you next time.